In 1910, at the funeral of King Edward VII of Britain, a single photograph captured 9 kings gathered together in one frame. They ruled nations. They commanded armies. They believed their crowns would endure. But this image would become one of history's greatest ironies. Within a decade, most of these monarchs would lose their thrones, not through assassination alone, but through war, revolution, and collapse. This is the story of what happened to each of them. 1. King George V. Britain. King George V of the United Kingdom stood at the center of the photograph. Unlike many others, he survived the war and kept his throne. But Britain changed forever. World War I weakened the idea of absolute monarchy power, shifted decisively to Parliament. The king became a constitutional symbol. George V ruled until 1936, but the British monarchy was never again the political force it once was. He survived, but monarchy itself had been reduced. 2. Kaiser Wilhelm II. Germany. Kaiser Wilhelm II, the German emperor, was one of the most powerful men in Europe. He believed war would strengthen his empire. Instead, it destroyed it. Germany lost World War I. Revolution erupted at home. Wilhelm abdicated in 1918. He fled to exile in the Netherlands, where he lived quietly until his death. The German Empire was abolished. Germany became a republic. A crown that once ruled millions vanished overnight. Tsar Ferdinand I. Bulgaria. Tsar. Ferdinand I of Bulgaria stood among Europe's kings in 1910, confident and ambitious. He believed his nation's future could be forged through power, alliances, and war, but ambition would become his undoing. Ferdinand led Bulgaria into the Balkan Wars, dreaming of territorial expansion. Instead, the country suffered defeat, exhaustion, and growing unrest. When World War I erupted, Ferdinand made a fateful choice. He sided with the Central Powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary, believing victory would elevate Bulgaria's status. The gamble failed. By 1918, Bulgaria was defeated. The army collapsed. The people lost faith. Facing national humiliation and political pressure, Ferdinand abdicated the throne in favor of his son and fled into exile. He would spend the rest of his life away from Bulgaria, a fallen monarch watching from afar as his dreams of power faded into history. His crown survived briefly, his authority did not. 4. King Manuel II. Portugal. King Manuel II of Portugal was young, quiet, and unprepared for the storm that awaited him. He had inherited a fragile throne, one weakened by years of political instability, economic crisis, and public unrest. The monarchy no longer inspired loyalty. It inspired frustration. Just months after the photograph was taken, revolution erupted. In 1910, Republicans seized control of Lisbon. The monarchy collapsed almost overnight. Manuel fled into exile as Portugal declared itself a republic. Unlike other kings, Manuel did not fall because of war. He fell because his nation had lost faith in the crown. He spent the rest of his life in exile, watching from afar as Portugal moved on without its monarchy. He never returned to rule. He never regained his throne. His reign ended almost as quickly as it began, and his fate served as a warning. Some crowns did not fall in battle. They simply faded when belief in them disappeared. 5. King Alfonso, the 13th of Spain. King Alfonso XIII of Spain stood in the photograph confident and composed. He had been king since birth, crowned the moment he entered the world. To many, his rule seemed secure. Spain avoided World War I. Its cities were not reduced to rubble. Its throne did not fall to revolution, at least not at first. But peace did not save the monarchy. Political instability gripped the country. Military dictators ruled in his name. Public trust in the crown slowly eroded. By the early 1930s, the Spanish people no longer saw the king as a unifying figure, but as a symbol of a broken system. In 1931, elections signaled the end. Alfonso XIII left Spain without formally abdicating, choosing exile over bloodshed. The Spanish monarchy was abolished. A republic replaced the crown. Alfonso lived the rest of his life moving between countries, watching his throne vanish from afar. Spain would later restore its monarchy, but his reign ended not in war or execution, but in irrelevance. 6. King Albert I. Belgium. King Albert I of Belgium stood among the 9 monarchs as war approached Europe. Unlike many kings of his time, Albert did not rule from a distance. When Germany invaded Belgium in 1914, he chose to stay. He took command of his army. He shared the hardships of his soldiers, and he became known as the Soldier King. Belgium suffered greatly during the war. Much of the country was occupied. Cities were destroyed. Civilians endured hardship and loss. Yet Albert did not flee. His presence strengthened national unity and preserved public trust in the monarchy. After the war, Belgium remained a kingdom. But like others, its monarchy changed. Power shifted toward democratic institutions. The king's role became constitutional rather than absolute. Albert I survived the war and kept his throne. But his reign proved something new. A monarchy could endure only by standing with its people, not above them. 7. King Haakon VII. Norway. King Haakon VII of Norway was one of the newest monarchs in the photograph. Norway had only recently become an independent nation in 1905. Haakon was chosen by the Norwegian people, not through conquest or inherited power. When war came to Europe, Norway stayed neutral. The country avoided invasion and large-scale destruction during World War I. Unlike many others in the photograph, his throne was not overthrown. His authority was not challenged by revolution. His nation did not collapse. But monarchy still changed. Haakon ruled strictly within a constitutional system. Real political power belonged to parliament. The king's role became one of stability rather than command. He remained on the throne for decades, and later became a unifying figure during World War II. Norway's monarchy survived, not as an absolute power, but as a respected national institution. Among the 9 kings, Haakon VII did not fall. He endured. 8. King Frederick. Denmark. King Frederick VIII of Denmark was already an aging monarch when the photograph was taken. He had waited decades to inherit the throne and ruled for only a short time. Unlike many of the kings around him, his reign would not be defined by war or revolution. Denmark remained neutral during World War I. The country avoided invasion and major destruction. In 1912, just 2 years after the photograph, Frederick VIII died suddenly while traveling abroad. He did not live to see the full collapse of Europe's old empires. The Danish monarchy survived the war. But survival came with limits. Political power continued to shift away from the crown. Parliament governed. The king reigned but no longer ruled. Frederick VIII did not fall from his throne. He did not flee. He was not overthrown. Yet his reign marked another step in the quiet transformation of monarchy, from authority to symbol. 9. King George I. Greece. King George I of Greece stood among Europe's monarchs in 1910, ruling a nation still searching for stability. Greece was young, politically divided, surrounded by conflict. George I had ruled for nearly 50 years, longer than almost any king in the photograph. He expanded Greek territory and held the throne together through constant crisis. But stability was an illusion. In 1913, Just 3 years after that photograph, George I was assassinated in Thessaloniki. A single bullet ended a half-century reign. His death plunged Greece into deeper turmoil. War followed, division followed. The monarchy survived briefly, but never securely. By 1974, the Greek crown was gone forever. He ruled long, he died suddenly, and the institution he represented did not endure. That photograph did not capture power. It captured the end of an era. 9 kings stood together, confident, decorated, unquestioned. Yet history was already moving against them. If you enjoyed this story, consider subscribing to Past Tense, because history doesn't just fade away, it leaves warnings behind.